Assalamu alaikum, very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another episode of Perceptive Learning Zone, and I'm your host, mentor Hamza Nasser. And today we are going to be reviewing a book that is called The Family, and this book is written by the author Mario Puzo. Now, Mario Puzo's final work, The Family, this was his last book before his demise, and it invites the readers into the intricate dynamics of the Borgia family. Now, interestingly, this is set against the backdrop of 15th century Rome, and it portrays the infamous Rodrigo Borgia, who was the later Pope Alexander VI. And his relationship with his children, Lucrezia, Juan, Caesar, as well as Joffre, it unfolds amidst ambition, betrayal, and violent power struggles. Now, Puzo, the writer, he masterfully reveals the complex concept of family loyalty and how it is intertwined or intermingled with treachery. Now, the family's fierce ambition and the ruthless drive for power, it makes them historical characters who still resonate today. So we have Rodrigo. Now he's a man of desires, fellas. He sees the family as the ultimate vehicle for his ambitions. He exhibits a consuming love for his children, albeit, a little bit twisted by his own corrupt path. And each child uniquely reflects their father's strength as well as flaws. Lucrezia emerges as a strong willed figure, navigating her father's oppressive love as well as political machinations. Juan is heartless, embodying the dark side of power, while Joffre, the overlooked one, often seeks affection in the shadow of his father's plan. Now, Mario Puzo, he described the Borgia family as the original crime family, which I feel, gives them some kind of central relation to Puzo's previous themes. Now, the interesting to note here that the crime element is never the most prevalent part of this book, and much of the intrigue it comes from Pope Alexander VI, aka Rodrigo Borgia, and his determination to establish a what shall we call a family dynasty. And it's interesting to see, fellas, how Rodrigo Borgia makes calculated moves in order to put himself in a position of power and then marry off his children in order to improve his political relations with Spain as well as France. Now, later on in this book, we see the Pope's children in numerous internal conflicts. Caesar wishes to fight as a soldier instead of being a cardinal in the church. Lucrezia would rather marry for love than for politics. And Rodrigo's other two sons, they also get into conflict over a woman, which leads to a serious outcome. And what we see is the calculated fashion in which Rodrigo runs his family. It draws many parallels to the Corleone family, which are represented in Puzo's other works as well. And it's easier to see now that Puzo was deeply inspired by the Borgia family throughout much of his writing, as made even more clear with the fact that he played with the idea for this book for 2 decades, that is, 20 years, right? So, when I look at this book, first of all, if I have to extract the main takeaways, right? Number one, I see love and betrayal in the Vatican. Lust and power, they sort of combine in Puzo's depiction of the Vatican. And Rodrigo's, his papacy, it is riddled with scandals revealing the church's corruption. His insatiable hunger for power, it leads him to marry his children off to influential families. And these strategic unions, they serve as stepping stones towards consolidating an empire of wealth as well as control. Yet this ambition we see, it does not shield the family from deadly rivalries. Characters they occasionally find themselves at odds, mirroring historical conflicts of the time. For instance, Caesar being very ambitious and ferocious while he strives to carve his own path. And his obsession with Lucrezia, it complicates their relationship. And that reflects for me the blurred lines between love, power, as well as familial loyalty. Now, also, when you look at the Borgia legacy, you see a symphony of venality. right? You see, the family, it intricately weaves themes of ambition and betrayal in order to create a powerful narrative. And each character, it reflects the complexities of human emotion in their relentless pursuit of power. And Puzo's characterization, it stands out as he paints vivid portraits of Rodrigo and his offspring. The vivid storytelling, it highlights their what we call their moral ambiguities, hence striking a balance between admiration and revulsion. Also, Rodrigo Borgia in this book, he's depicted not just as a pope, but as a, what should I say, fellas, as a family patriarch who is immersed in human folly. And his priorities, they lay bare the fact that family loyalty, it supersedes morality until loyalty itself turns into a weapon. And as the children, they engage in their own power plays, they embody the true, I shall say, the essence of their lineage. And the sibling rivalry between Juan and Caesar, it intensifies, creating a volatile brew of ambition as well as resentment. Now, as this narrative unfolds, their individual arcs, they draw the reader closer. And Caesar stands out as an emblem of ambition, a figure whose loyalty to the family is inseparable from his quest for personal glory, and juxtaposed with him, Lucrezia embodies the tragic dimensions of power, often marginalized within her father's schemes, right? Some books of some quotes in this book that for me were very interesting, right? The first quote is, and I quote, "We are a family, and the loyalty of the family must come before anything and anyone else. For if we honor that commitment, we will never be vanquished, but if we falter in that loyalty, we will all be condemned," unquote. The second quote and I will start, that Pope Alexander smiled. He seemed more amused with the story than horrified. He said, "The Baglioni are true believers. They believe in paradise, such a great gift. How otherwise can man bear this mortal life? Unfortunately, such a belief also gives evil men the courage to commit great crimes in the name of good as well as God," unquote. And last but not the least, my all-time favorite quote from this book would be, and I quote, "A life without flowers is no life at all, for beauty is more necessary than we can imagine," unquote. So in conclusion, I would say that when it comes to the family, this book, it is not a book that will please everybody, particularly not fans of Puzo's other work. If you enjoy historical fiction, then it's quite possible you will get an enjoyment from this book. Ultimately, it may not be a book to run to if you fancy an exciting new epic tale or a book on organized crime for that matter. So, read The Family if you really want to know what made Mario Puzo tick, or if you generally love the Italian Renaissance era. Otherwise, there may be hundreds of books to consider before you ever get to this one, right? And with that being said and done, I would say I thoroughly enjoyed reading it, and I believe it doesn't deserve as much criticism as it has received. Some books, I feel they just aren't for the mass audience, ladies and gentlemen, but that does not mean that they aren't good reads, right? So I would give this book a nice solid 7 out of 10, and I would say that Mario Puzo's The Family, it serves as a swan song to his storytelling prowess. And completed posthumously, the manuscript, it reflects Puzo's fascination with power dynamics as well as human relationships. And despite being entwined with historical events, the novel, it bears a striking resemblance to the character-driven narratives of The Godfather. And through the lens of the Borgias, Puzo captures the dark allure of power and the fine line between love and ambition. And as the story, I would say, as the story chronicles their rise and subsequent fall, a sense of inevitable tragedy permeates the scene. And family loyalty, once a strength, well, it gradually morphs into a destructive force, leading to disarray and downfall. The ultimately, to conclude, I would say that the Borgia family in this book, they stand, fellas, as a symbol of complexity, a dynasty where love and ambition collide. And their tale now, it reminds readers of the depth as well as the starkness of human aspirations through history, right? And I feel that the family, it reaffirms Mario Puzo's status as a masterful storyteller. It neatly entwines historical narrative with the ultimate question, that what does it mean? What does it truly mean to be a family? All right, so that'll be all for now, fellas. Please don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll be back with much more content, God willing. Thank you very much, and stay blessed always. Assalamu alaikum.